Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Dynamite Shirt Printing, Kyle Metz. What a guy. He came on as a sponsor, and my primary use for him is drop shipping. So what that means is that I don't got to buy inventory. I don't got to buy a bunch of t-shirts. Kyle handles it all. So it's ordered online, and then he prints it and ships it, and he handles everything. And it works out for both parties. If you're looking for something else like general screen printing, he handles that. He does embroidery. He does direct to garment, DTG, which means you can do one-offs, and there's no minimum on that. Kyle's been able to help a lot of businesses that I've been funneling to him just to get going and to, start up. I mean, you don't want to order 100 t-shirts when you're just coming out the gate. And Kyle can handle small orders, large orders. He can handle everything you need. That's Dynamite Shirt Printing, and it's dynamiteshirtprinting.com. Go check it out. My favorite skate shop in the Valley, 5anddimeeaston.com. You can shop online or in store. Their address is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 11 to 7, Saturday, 10 to 7, and Sundays, 11 to 5. They carry clothing, shoes, boards, accessories, and more. You can get complete decks down there. They got grip. They got some local clothing down there as well. I know a couple guys that came on the show that they're now selling stuff in store, and they're exclusive to Fucked. They are doing so much for the independent skate community. They're doing so much for the DIY. They're doing a lot in the area with skateboarding, and I couldn't be prouder to have them as a sponsor. Their story is incredible, from starting it when they were 18 and then coming back later in life to opening up what the store is that they wanted. And the two guys down there are just incredible. I can't say enough good things about them. I love that they're a sponsor, and they really help out in the community. And if you skate or want to support them, please go check them out locally. It is 140 Northampton Street, Easton, PA. Online, it is 5anddimeeaston.com. Please go check them out. All Valley Rooter, Jared LaBarba, friend of the show, childhood friend, Never Again Studios official plumber. 24-hour emergency services. 610-762-1656. That's 610-762-1656. They charge by the job, not by the hour, and they are 100% fully insured. They have free estimates. They also do installation and repair. They have a list of things. I can't go over them all on here, but you can find them at allvalleyrouter.net. All of Jared's services are on there. It's a beautiful website. You can contact him through that website. You can find out how to do, emergency services. Where should I call? Who should I contact? You can get all that there at allvalleyrouter.net. Free estimates, fully insured. Jared LaBarba. Check him out.
I'm Mark. They call me Rip. Rips Auto Detail. You can find me on Instagram, Rips Auto Detail, RIPS Auto Detail. You can hit me, Mark, at ripsautodetail.com for my email. So if you want to call me, 484-553-1366. Social medias, really, you'll see most of what I'm doing. But for the business, give me a follow on Rips Auto Detail. Watch what I'm doing. If you're interested in paint corrections, ceramic coatings, anything in the Lehigh Valley as far as highline aesthetics for your vehicle. We're not talking cheap stuff here, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It just is what it is. I've been working at this for a long time, and if you want someone to take a prideful approach to the aesthetic care of your vehicle and really turn you out a product that you haven't experienced with someone else before, give me a shot, man. It's a one-man approach, and everybody gets the same level of devotion. Obviously some jobs cost more and some less, and you've got to draw a fine line there. It's easy to really obsess over things and go too far sometimes and over-deliver. It's never really a bad thing, though. So give me a shot.
Up there. Oregon radio episode, I think. Who knows? What's up, man? How are you?
What's up?
I've been wanting to do this interview for quite some time. I met you years ago, and that'll cross over into the story, but you've always stuck out to me in my mind on how you carry yourself and what you do with the kitchen and everything else. And the little time I spent with you, I was always overly impressed. So I want to take the opportunity to dig back into how you got to be the man and the chef of what everyone sees today. How did you get involved in food? Where did the itch start? Where did all of this come to even get to the point of where you're at now?
I'd have to say, like, when growing up, when my mom was in the kitchen, I always wanted to be a part of it. I always, no matter what she was doing, she wasn't, she was an Irish mother, so she wasn't making, she wasn't the one that was making the Sunday gravy or anything like that.
Irish food is hard to get through.
But I always had my hands, dirty and in the kitchen and wanting to be a part of it. And I remember actually being on a road trip. My parents' family, they're from Indiana, like Chicago suburbs, and I remember driving around. It was actually like the crossroads of America, Route 30 and 40 is kind of where they live, and we joke about it because we drove past a place called Jalapenos, and I accidentally said Jalapenos. And at the same time, I said, I might want to go to culinary school.
Yeah.
So my family still brings that up
That's
every
funny.
once in a while. Yeah,
Not letting
good
it
thing
go.
you didn't go to culinary school. Instead, I spent my money on art school.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the start, and I always worked in places that had to do with food. My first job was at Upstream Farm, which is in Forks Township. I don't know if you remember that. They were along Bushkill Drive. They had a gourmet farm store.
No.
So I helped bake cookies and I scooped ice cream, and my first.
Did they have like a store, or was it like a side of the road thing?
It was a store.
Yeah.
It was a dairy farm. They lost a lot of their cows due to pollution from what was Pfizer at the time.
Yeah.
So they kind of continued with the farm, grew Christmas trees, grew corn, and my first job was actually like picking corn, which sounds like so boring and stupid, but we had a blast. It was like half the kids on the baseball team were out there picking corn.
Yeah, you're outside. It's got to be fun.
Yeah, we didn't. That was breakfast every day. Was
corn,
eating raw corn. I still do it in front of people to this day, and I'll sit there and eat a raw piece of corn. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Have you ever tried it? It's delicious."
When I was a kid, there's Bushkill wasn't overdeveloped the way it is now, and there's still some parts of it, but there was fields of corn, and I remember we used to go into the cornfield. I mean, you're in Bushkill, you're either doing cornfields or you're down at the penny hole fishing. So we went into the cornfield and we're like, oh, let's take this all back, and we're gonna bring this to dinner. And we grabbed everything and we brought bags of it back, and we knocked on the door, and my friend's mom's like, "This is feed corn."
I knew that's what you were
like,
gonna say.
She's like, "We can't eat this," and we're like, "What?" Because like we spent like hours being like, "Here's the biggest piece," and then she was like, "Take this back. You weren't allowed to take any of this." And then like we're like carrying our bags back and be like, "We can't eat that corn," and then we're like, "She doesn't know what she's talking about." She just doesn't want corn.
It's only good for tic-tacking.
Yeah, I think that's what we ended up probably doing.
we had a field of that behind our house growing up, and I was always so upset for the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's all this corn, but we can't eat it.
No. I
could,
still
but
vividly
but it's
remember her
horrible.
being like, "No corn." And we're like, "What?" Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked there. They had an ice cream section in a deli, and kind of, I guess that's kind of where I started working with food. And then I worked at Nicolosi's Pizza in Forks Township and made cheesesteaks, and
Yeah.
he let me make a pie every once in a while. And then I went off to art school, Tyler School of Art at Temple University, and
Where did the art aspect come from? Were you always like into art? Were you drawing as a kid? Or?
Yeah, I was always into art, drawing as a kid. Took lessons here or there, and was just really big into painting for the most part. Although my dad, every time I'd come home, would push me to try to go into graphics.
Yeah.
Thinking back, I should have listened.
Like graphic design?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All my friends, most of my friends in school were graphic designers, and they're the ones that have the big high-paying jobs now.
It's weird when you look back on stuff like that where you see like where it could have possibly worked, because it's like when you get into different stuff, you kind of like taking a passion and then you dump it into something and then you create with it. Where I look back on, like, I was supposed to go to video game school, like out in Florida before it was like Full Sail University. It was like still a university. A lot of it's online now. But back then it was like, that was a big thing. Like we had to fly out and we were going to look at the whole thing. And then, I look at like, oh, well, like that could have panned out because you're still taking like things out of your head and creating with them. And then like I just remember like the flight got canceled and we never went out to do it, and it was like, you know, big money back then, and it was like, you know, I didn't have grades because of how high school went, but it was like I was gonna make the sacrifice, and there's those weird things that you look back on. I'm like, what would have happened?
What would happen? Right?
Yeah, if I would have done all that. And then I'm like, I'm cool the way it finally worked out for me, but like the same aspect, it's like, would I have been making video games? That would have been cool.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm a believer that things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
You kind of find your path,
and you still get to create. You know, because I'm sure you get the, you know, like the completion, or like when you're creating and painting, I'm sure you still get a lot of that out of what you do with food.
Sure.
So you kind of like learn to move the palette around.
Move the palette around, different palette. But yeah. I mean, you can relate. You do the same thing.
Yeah. I wish I knew how to draw. Yeah. Everyone's always like, you draw your own designs? I was like, I wish. I'd have a lot more money.
Yeah. I'm also a person that I think that everyone does have a hand that they can draw. It's just about the way they see is different than what other people see. Yeah. It doesn't make it right or wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, my wife's like that. She's like, I can't draw. Then I look at what she does. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You did that freehand? You know, and yeah, whatever. You know. But
yeah, I guess it's how you interpret how you look at it.
How you look at it, yeah. Then I guess to go back, I did some landscaping, and then which I actually really enjoyed that. But then between my freshman and sophomore year of school, ended up working at this place called Cafet in Chestnut Hill. And I started out as a delivery driver, and then I was in the kitchen, and then like 3 months later, I was like the head guy cooking brunch.
It's crazy how that works out sometimes.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite jobs there was every Friday we did fried chicken. So we'd get how many cases? We get 4 cases of whole fryers. I'd have to break them all down. And I was in this kitchen in the back by myself on a Friday night with like cast iron pans. And all I did all night was just
fried chicken.
Yeah. Set it on a timer and, you know, maybe bring in a bottle of tequila and
listen to music.
Listen to my own music.
Yeah. I was always like, if I could listen to music and be left alone, that I was like, all right, cool, I can do this. Any job, factory stuff. All right, so headphones, cool. Like those are my questions.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Then I'm all right. Let me be.
I mean, my car would stink to high heaven because my roommates would always want fried chicken. So I'd bring the fried chicken home, and finally I was like,
you were always a god for the first.
I was like, guys, no more fried chicken. It was funny. I was at a beer distributor on the way home from work one night, and this woman behind me was like, I smell something good. And I was like, that's my shirt.
Yeah, or like after you're done working a shift, and then you give somebody a hug because you don't have time to go out and shower, but you want to go out for beers. They're like, French fries? Yep.
Chicken soup?
Yeah, it's weird. I still have clothes that like chef shirts and stuff, or not chef shirts, but like stuff you had to wear in a kitchen. And then I just don't throw them out because I'm like, yeah, you never know. And these were expensive. And like that whole drawer at my parents' house still has like the scent of like a kitchen. It just never goes away.
Yeah, it's not like it smells bad.
Yeah.
But it doesn't smell clothesline fresh.
Nope. No. Not even when you put them on the clothesline.
Yeah.
That's I didn't know you did any of that with the just sitting in the back and frying the chicken like that. And
yeah.
It's slowly you start seeing where some things come from.
And then like we would take all the dark meat and I'd throw it in a big bucket with jerk seasoning. And then Saturday night we'd have jerk chicken.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
That's a really cool thing to learn starting out, like just like frying chicken and like and then like were they like brining the chicken and doing stuff like that, or were like you paying attention to that, or were you, at this point you're just frying?
We were just frying. We had our seasoning. It was just seasoning flour, and some egg. And God, I went back about 10 years later, and the owner was like, "Can you tell me what you did to that chicken?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "It was never as good as it was when you cooked it." And like all I did was follow her instructions.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe I floured it a little extra, gave it an extra little loving.
Yeah, you got tequila. You should tell her tequila and music.
and then we'd cook it all off, and what we had left over, we'd make the most killer chicken salad out of.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
And the place is still open today?
No, it's condos.
Ah, I was like, I'm going here after this.
Yeah, but it was the strangest building. It was like this, concrete block building. And you walked inside, and it was full of artwork. I actually, myself and a couple of my classmates at Tyler, we had an art show there, sold some artwork.
That's cool to be able to have like access to somebody who like let you like put up an art show and you work there, and like you kind of have like a mini venue, and then you start getting like the extras of like just having somebody who's cool to work for.
Yeah. And she ended up kind of slowly phasing out of the business, and she went into like holistic therapy, and she was one of the first people I ever met that fasted.
Yeah.
Like, her and her friends would fast for a week, and they would have water parties. Which I've done some fasting here and there, and kind of like reset the body and all that. And thinking back, I'm like, God, a whole week.
Yeah. I juiced wrong once and did. I think it was like I watched some Netflix documentary. It was like right after the guy came out with it, everyone started juicing, and it was like an empowering story. And I was like, I'm gonna juice, and then I like just did typical me, where I'm like, cool, like he just does it 3 times a day, and then like if you actually read, you're like supposed to be intaking other things besides that. And then like I did it for a whole week, and it was a nightmare. Looking back on it, like everyone I worked with like hated me because I was just like hangry all day, and then like but I just in the morning, breakfast, and dinner, all I had was a juice, and I was so, like I would just go to sleep because I was so mad that like I couldn't eat. I lost a ton of weight, and like by Wednesday it was odd because that was the best I've ever felt my entire life, because like it was actually. And then like I remember getting out of work, and I was doing tree work at the time, and I'd be like, what else can we do with this energy? And then I think it was like Saturday, I was like, all right, now we're gonna get into like a normal diet. And then I had food, and then it was just back to whatever else I was doing. But I always look back on that, and I was like, oh, you did that completely wrong. Like that was crazy of you to not eat for 5 days.
Right.
I'm like, I'll never do that again.
Which the body can't handle.
Absolutely.
But it's something that you need to prep yourself.
Yeah, I just like woke up and I went over to the place in Allentown and got a bunch of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah. Just went to town.
And then I was like, I don't know if I did that right. And everyone was like, dude, you were horrible to be around. Because they'd be like, because it's like you work construction, so it's like, and you did landscaping, and so your lunch is your day, like that's your break. And then like so, what's funny is because when I started getting into cooking, I started like bringing them food. They're like, oh my god, this is so awesome, because you're just eating gas station food,
right?
And then like I was like, dude, why don't we like everybody bring something in, and we start having like a lunch, and then like we went from that to like me being like, here's my juice, and I'm like, are we done with lunch yet? Yeah. Let's get back to work. They're like, yo, dude. They're like, you're a jerk. They're like, by Friday they were like, you're not allowed to do that ever again. They're like, please stop. Like, we do not want that version of you to ever come back.
Please bring your hoagie next week.
Yeah. So where did you go from doing the chicken and all that? So you were doing the art shows and stuff like that, and how long were you there?
I was there for a couple years, year and a half. Then I went to this place about 10 minutes away. It's called the Blue Comet Bar and Grill, and that was in Glenside. And that's one of those places that you kind of think back on your life and what made you who you are.
Yeah.
And like think about like kind of like the best times. That was one of the first places that like I'll still have like dreams about it, like weird dreams about that place. And it was like, the menu wasn't anything exceptional, but it was really good food. But the bar itself was kind of like this swanky bar during the week. I had just like a cocktail sign on the front window. Everybody dressed in black, but the food didn't necessarily reflect that. It was more like bar and grill type food. But then come Sunday, starting at, what time did we start? I think it was starting at 6:00. It was Rockabilly Sunday.
Oh, I was just going to ask you because my brother years ago went and saw Brian Setzer there.
Yeah.
So that's because when you see the Blue Comet, I'm like, where did I know that place? But that was like known for like serious rockabilly.
Serious rockabilly, like peanuts, like big barrel peanuts, peanuts all over the floor, people dancing on the bar. Girls taking their tops off.
Yeah, like that.
You know, it was
that
like,
entire.
Their owner would blow fire. It was just kind of like this wild place, and like
on Sundays.
on Sundays, and the rest of the week it was like pretty chill. But that was our happy hour spot when we were in school, and it was a $1 domestic 12-ounce drafts.
Yeah,
Monday through Friday, and they had like a small food buffet, so you could go there with $10 and have drinks and dinner, you know, on a student diet, and it was the best thing ever. So a couple of my friends ended up getting jobs there, and eventually there was kind of like the same thing at the cafe. There was like 5 of us that like went to the same school, ended up working there, and
just working shifts together.
And oh my god, my buddy Josh, who I call my mini me, he's kind of looked the same, but he's about 5'2".
Yeah.
We still, you know, every time we get together, we talk about the times he had there, and
you
know, some of the things I forgot, some of the things he forgot. You know, when we would bar back there, it was shots of Jack Daniels like every hour.
Yeah.
And it was something that it was almost a requirement.
Yeah.
You know, there was days where I'd leave there and I'm like, wow, I did 12 shots of Jack today.
Yeah.
But it was a 12-hour shift, so.
I remember, and I still tell this story, when my buddy opened up Cherry Hill, and I worked underneath my friend Matt, who is where I essentially started learning to cook. He was a chef, and he went to school, and he came back after 9/11. He worked at resorts and that whole travel and everything, so he was back in the Nazareth area. So he opened up, my buddy opened up a bar, and he was the chef under it, and I was his right-hand guy, and like we were just gonna figure all this out. And I remember like we were being like, hey, like, you know, like let's get a drink, like we're in charge. So then he was like, let's do Whiskey Dick Tuesdays, and I was like, all right. And he's like, let's just drink whiskey and coffee in the morning only, and let's just see how it goes. And I was like, perfect. And then we started getting into whiskey coffees and having great conversation, listening to music, working. And then I just woke up on the upstairs floor, and then I was just like, oh. And then the next day he's just like, hey, I don't think we should do that Whiskey Tuesday thing anymore. And we ended up drinking the whole bottle. But it's funny when you look back at stuff like that, and like what you said, it was there was so much stress, and it was so crazy. And then it was like we were running this, you know, the front of the house was so insane, and the back of the house was just stress and everything. And I was just learning how to get into the business. So it was like, you know, that's where you learn your chops on like, cool, we'll have one drink. Yeah. We don't need to drink all day.
We don't need to drink all day long. No.
But that's, you know, it's the same thing when I talk to him. We'll go back and be like, you remember this? You remember that? Like, you know, the delivery people coming in, and like all the different people you meet in a day that come in and out of like the inner workings of a kitchen that most people don't see. And you build these relationships with people. And I'll still run into like food purveyor people and be like, yo, what's up? Because like you spent 5 years of your life seeing them every day. But it's funny looking back on those days and like drinking in the kitchen. And I don't know, I think that was like part of the appeal of it. It was like almost like, you know, you're almost like a pirate, like, you know what I mean?
That's
like,
what I've always said. It's a pirate ship, man.
It very
absolutely is.
It very much is, especially if you're in a small kitchen.
And I think that's it's kind of the good and the bad of what attracts people to the business. It's you know, it's funny because when I'm out, especially with my family, and you know, somebody will recognize me, hey. And they'll talk to my son. Hey, you're going to be a chef just like your dad. I'm just like, you shut your mouth.
He's going to graphic design.
He's going into finance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't go back and do it any other way. But you know, it does take its toll on you. And you know, I think if you talk to most chefs that are in the business, they'll say they've definitely had their stint with too much consumption.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I talked to Matt, you know, like he was telling me these crazy stories on like the resorts, because it's like you're there with your crew, and now you're like in the Bahamas. He's just like, but then like, you know, they're doing like massive, like, you know, like vacations coming in. So it's like what they're asking you to cook is almost impossible to keep up with. And then they're just like burning both ends and staying up late. And then you're just like, one of the things I always enjoyed is like when you're done with a shift, especially like a dinner one, and then like you accomplish that, and then like the anxiety and all that kind of washes out. But then to pair that with a drink and then pair it with 2 drinks is like, it's a feeling you can't really explain unless you've done it, but it's almost like rewarding.
Well, it's almost like winning a championship. Every night. Because it is. Like, I mean,
we did it.
Even if it goes
wrong.
Those nights where it's not valid, but there's definitely those nights where it's like, maybe you do $5,000 more than normal on a Saturday, and you do it. Maybe it's not perfect, but as perfect as can be. You get through it, and you give some high fives and some hugs, and maybe you apologize to a server or to a host, and you say, "I didn't mean that. I'm sorry." I think that's one thing about the business too is you got to be a little thick-skinned.
Yeah. Absolutely.
On all aspects. Especially in a lot of people in the kitchen. A lot of times they think servers are just order takers.
Yeah.
But they got to deal with the public.
Yeah,
they have to put up with people and their needs and their.
I would rather be in the back.
Yeah, I've done both.
Yeah,
I liked when I worked at Porter's Pub, and I worked the front and the back, and I loved having that balance because I had 1 day a week where I worked day bar, and it was.
I liked bartending. Yeah. But like dealing with people at the table, like there's just especially when someone's like giving you attitude, like I don't handle that stuff well at all. I either shut down or I'm just like, hey.
Putting that fake smile on.
Yeah. That's crazy that you were there. So how long, what was that like? Because I want to hang here for a little bit because, to have that, I mean, did you work Sundays then? And were you cooking full time? Were you guys like running the kitchen as a crew?
We kind of rotated the kitchen crew and like the bar crew. So there would be 2 of us in the kitchen and then 1 of us would bar back, and then the next week we kind of rotate in and out. So it was fun.
That must have been crazy to bar back for that Sunday.
That was wild. I mean, every table had a foot on it. Like people were standing on it. And then it was I don't know if I remember this correctly. It was either the night before or the following night. Brian Setzer was just hanging out at the bar and the power went out. So he sat on the bar, took out his guitar, and just played, and I think there was probably 20 people there.
That's crazy.
And we all just sat around and listened to him play. And like that's something that you'll never forget.
No. Did he go there a lot to hang out?
He was really good friends with one of the regulars. So he would visit, I think at the time he lived out in Malibu. So he would come out and visit every once in a while. And
yeah, it's so funny how that crossed over. My brother used to hang with Rick from the Ultra Kings all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, that's when I was first introduced to rockabilly. Is my brother, I think, was, like, helping Rick with, like, web design and Facebook stuff. And then my brother started playing one song with him, and then when my brother would go out, we would start going out to see the Ultra Kings, and then that's how I met Rick, and like we just kind of went into that circle. And I remember I didn't go for whatever reason, but my brother Richard, his wife, and Henry went, and they still have pictures from, because it was like a big deal, like that he was there, and like the line was out the door, but like everybody there was like to the nines, because it was like a rockabilly place. It wasn't like a couple people, like full blown, like stepping back in time Sundays. That's so awesome that you worked there. That must have been crazy. It was probably so much fun.
I mean, when there was set break, it was like the whole place, emptied out. I think at the time you could still smoke inside. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's probably just
everybody
butts
didn't
and
have
booze.
to go outside, but it was everybody just flooded out and packed back in. And it was the first time I think we actually had to hire some like security staff.
Yeah,
and I mean, the place had 2 bathrooms and they were 1-seaters.
Oh no, that's always the stuff that's like, this is so cool.
There's people
like,
peeing out in the back parking lot, all that. And
how long were you there for?
I was there for, I think, 3 years. I was there when I was 21 to about 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good time. That's like a good, like how you were saying it, like shaped you and whatnot. Like that's a good time to be somewhere to learn a lot, to learn the menu, to learn cooking. Then like, were you guys like messing around and like cooking your own stuff there too? Like just kind of like, you know, making like the kitchen meal?
We do the kitchen meal, and we'd always, you know, we'd have our downtime, so we'd always do, you know, creative things. And, and you know.
You just eat the whole menu twice, and then you're like, all right, dude, like, can we do something else?
That was actually the first time I'd ever heard of a peanut butter burger.
Yeah.
The owner, he would order it once in a while, and it was literally peanut butter, bacon, American cheese. And that always kind of stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
And then I never really worked somewhere where I had the opportunity where it like fit into the menu until I came to Two Rivers.
Yeah. No, this is cool. I'm seeing like bits and pieces of like where the menu shines, and then it's funny because if you work at a bunch of different places, and then I'm sure, I don't know how it was, but if you were ever thinking about getting on or making your own menu, you'd be like, oh, well, I would take that. I would take this. This is cool. I would do it this way. And then you kind of like take these skills or like things that you are memorable to you to put on a menu.
Yeah, piece it all together.
Yeah, that's cool. So then you were at the Comet for 3 years, and then where did you go after that?
And then I moved back to Easton. My lease was up. I lived in South Philly. My lease was up.
Did you like South Philly?
I did. I lived kind of like deeper south. I was about 8 blocks off South Street.
Yeah.
So my neighborhood was kind of blue collar, a couple blocks from the ghetto, but a couple blocks from the Italian part. So it was a pretty cool spot. The rent was cheap. Like we had a 3-bedroom townhome for $750.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, you couldn't beat that. This was 2003.
Yeah.
So my lease was up, and so I moved back home, got an apartment up on College Hill in Easton, and ended up working at the Starfish Brasserie in Bethlehem.
Did you have plans to keep cooking moving home, or have a job lined up, or did you kind of just come home and were figuring it out?
Kind of just came home. I shacked up with my parents for a couple weeks and found a place, moved out. Ended up getting a job there, which is where I actually met my wife. My first day on the job, I walked in, and she was sitting there, and she had her glasses were all busted because her dog ate the little nose pieces off it. And it's funny because we go back in the story once in a while, and one of the coworkers was like, "Ooh, I saw him the other day. You're gonna like him." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
and like she had a boyfriend at the time, and we played it cool, and always kind of had something for
just something there.
There was always something there, and then had a couple drinks and made out one night. And
oh, you're single.
That was that. But I actually was hired there as a server bartender. The kitchen, they weren't hiring. But I learned a lot about a different business, which was really cool. Because it was more high end than what I was used to. I was paying close attention to the food that was coming out, asking questions, learning a lot. One of the chefs there at the time, one of the line cooks, is a guy by the name of Matt Kern, who was nominated for a James Beard Mid-Atlantic Chef of the Year. So there was a lot of good talent coming out of that kitchen. The owner, Dick Barrows, he owns a place in Wilmington, North Carolina called Kitchen, which I know has received a lot of awards and stuff. So, I gained a lot culinary-wise, even though I wasn't cooking. And I learned a lot, just about the business and customer service too. Yeah.
And I feel it's important to kind of balance that out, and it kind of fits to what your story is unfolding, where you kind of were doing front and the back, and then when you kind of get into a little bit more serious of a place, from a shot in a beer bar, it is a whole nother world, and you can learn a lot if you pay attention to it.
Right.
It's something that you can take with you, even if you're just doing stuff at home, but like to learn the business side of it and understand how it works, like it's important to kind of grasp, especially if you're younger and you're just getting into the business, like to be able to in my opinion, to survive and for it to be like the best way in that is to know every asset of it. So then you understand, like we brought a kid in who was a dishwasher, and then we like made him do the fryer, and he wanted to learn the flat top. And I'm like, you got to learn the fryer first. And he's like, well, I understand. I'm like, well, you need to understand the timing. And then when he got to the flat top, he now knew the register, the fryer and then the flat top, and he looks at me the one day and he goes, oh, now I know why you made me do that, because now he's answering questions to the people who are like, hey, how long is this going to take? And instead of him scratching his head and turning to me, now he's like, your order will be done in this amount of time, because he's learned every aspect of it. But like when you start learning all that, it makes life so much easier, especially if you're going to stay somewhere long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially like the same thing goes with prep.
Yeah. When you understand what's going into it.
What am I prepping this for?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of this? Even if it's just simple as like, dicing up cucumbers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do you need them this big? Well, because it's a salad. You don't want them that big, and you don't want them that big. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as long as you apply yourself and you like, just pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing that kind of grinds my gears recently is like, I feel like people just aren't paying attention. Like, I kind of split my time at Two Rivers between the front of the house and the back of the house. I'll manage like Tuesday through Thursday, and then in the kitchen Friday and Saturday. And I'll go in that kitchen on a Tuesday, and I'll remember where everything is when I go back into that kitchen on a Friday, just by looking around, where there's people that are like there all through those 5 shifts in that kitchen that like, oh, wait, you pulled that ground beef already? Yeah, it's been in there for 3 days. Why'd you pull another one? I didn't know it was there. And like, and it's just about applying yourself. And like, what we spoke about before we got started here was, is this something you want to do for a job? Or is this something you want to do as a career? Something you want to do that's kind of like your life's focus? Or is it just paying the bills? I think the pandemic kind of pushed things in a certain direction where it just ends up being pay.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard for the...
Yeah, I mean, because it's if you've never been in a kitchen, if you never worked in a kitchen or have any understanding of how that works, that was a difficult industry to kind of find the right people to work there, because there is so many different people that come through, where there's somebody who it's the only job they can get because you might be hiring under the table. It might be the only position that they have available because if you dedicate your life to food, you're working nights and weekends and holidays. So then it's like there's so many mixes of people where like you have people that are just there for a little bit until they find something else because they're paying bills, and it's a very difficult thing to find the correct mix of people. And even when you do, you only know that it's only for so long.
And then there's personalities.
Yeah, and then they all have to get along. And then like what you said, because it's funny because you forget where you're apologizing to people after a shift because it's like high tension's running. So if you tell somebody like, hey, fuck off, don't touch that, you don't want to talk to them that way. That's just what's coming out because there's tickets and noise and things going on, and people, oh, this person said this and I forgot to tell you that. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I like about business too, is like you see the true emotion of the people you work with.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody crying at the in the corner or a line cook losing his shit completely.
Yeah. It's weird to go through. I started working under Matt, worked at a golf course, and then like, there's just, you have to, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I was going through at the time, but like, I enjoyed the chaos. Like, that's what, like, I enjoyed.
I think that's what's kind of attractive about it.
Yeah. And then it's like, and then when you control the chaos, then you kind of feel like a specific way where like, there's some times where I'd be driving home and like, it feels like, the same feeling of how I went hiking on that mountain for 13 miles. I was getting the same feeling after 45 minutes of like a shift. Like, you know what I mean? Like that dump off where it's like, raw, and then it's over and it's like, whew. Like you leave a lot there.
You do.
So it's like when you find people who enjoy that, sometimes those people don't get along with each other because they're very specific.
Right.
So then to have the pandemic come in, and then now, like we were kind of talking, like where if somebody is just there to fill a spot, now they can go get a job at a factory, or if somebody is kind of at like a fork in the road and don't know what they want to do with their career, they can just take money and insurance and all the things that they were sacrificing to get ahead, to have a career as a chef or an owner. And then like, I feel like, it's almost like smoke and mirrors to take people away that, I don't know. I haven't been in a kitchen in a while. I'm going to start doing it again, but like it's got to be odd seeing that from your perspective, from the Comet all the way up into now, where it's just kind of like it's slim pickings.
It's slim pickings, and then, you know, I have one cook that's left twice to go work a warehouse job. Comes back. Yeah, it sucked, right?
yeah, I've definitely done that.
It sucked. It sucked. Your hours sucked. You're hurt. You're beat up. I mean, some of those people walked like 9 miles a day.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you're there, like, because if you're working and you're getting that dump off and you don't realize that that's helping you, and then you go work and you stand at a factory and you're like not allowed to listen to music, and like there's restrictions to things that you can do, and like, you know, if you are good at what you do and you're in a kitchen for a while, you get a little bit of freedom to kind of just come in, you do your job, you have responsibility, and you can leave. But when you're over at an assembly thing, I mean, you could easily, you know, all the
cogs fit together.
Yeah,
you know?
and then the people that enjoy that kind of work that are just like, well, 10 more years, those people are terrible to be around in a break room.
I worked a temp job once, packing paint tubes.
Yeah.
And I felt like the isolated nerd kid at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Like just sitting there, nobody paying attention to you, nobody even saying hi to you.
Yeah, it could get weird at those places.
You know,
you're bringing back some terrible memories.
It was just so awkward. I didn't even make it a week. I lasted 4 days. I mean, the monotony was one thing, but then, you know, just the people you were around was another. I just couldn't.
Yeah, and then it's like, if you like, I remember one of the biggest things I liked about getting into food is like, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and I didn't know where I could go, and I was making money bartending, but when I started learning the skill set of cooking, and then like my boss was so grateful for like, I look back on it now and you're helping somebody run their business. So it's like,
right.
He was like grateful for that. And then I was learning all this stuff. And then it was starting things that I would like make an omelet for my mom. And she's like, wow. So it's like, I finally started feeling like I was worth something. And if you get that feeling,
I can totally relate to that.
And if you get that feeling, and especially if you're like struggling because artistically, you don't know what to do. Like, I didn't realize until this was all done, where like, this is my version of painting because I can't paint, or I don't see that I can paint. So like, to me, I was like, oh, well, this wasn't going to stop. And you can move a lot of this stuff around in food. But like, when I left to go do something else, and then now you're told to just go put X into Y into Z, and then you have a manager and nobody gives a shit about you at all, and this is all just for a giant business that's like sending things out, and there isn't like a small personal thing, and you're not working with the same, like I have friends from Virginia that I haven't seen in like 10 or 15 years that we still text every once in a while, and I'm like, yo, you remember this night? Like, all still awesome friends from what we went through. So it's like, when you take that away, I was like, well, what do I really have left? What am I contributing to society? And like, I started really like questioning what, like, I really felt like I've accomplished nothing in my life, where the kitchen made me feel like I was a part of something. So I could easily see that guy leaving and then being like, oh, well, this sucks. Then you come back and you're around people and friends and making things happen, and it's crazy, but it all works in its own fucked up way.
Yeah, and you feel gratitude, and people thank you, and
you feel like you have a worth.
You feel like you have a worth. Yeah, you're part of something bigger.
Yeah. And with cooking, it was always like, when you made something and you know it's made correctly, and then somebody eats it, they're like, dude, like, you know, there's people that come back, or like, you know, that are like, I remember when I was making cheesesteaks, like they'd come in and be like, or they'd call and be like, is Mike making it? Is he going to be in?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then it was like, you feel, I'm just making cheesesteaks for whatever amount of money, you know, and just doing that for a living. But like, those little moments really made me feel like,
they make you feel appreciated, like you do have value.
Yeah,
right.
That does not come in a warehouse.
No. And it's funny, even at a place like Two Rivers, where like, you know, when I first built the menu, it wasn't built around the burger. It was basically more of like an elevated, locally sourced brewpub menu. And then it was pretty much the guests kind of determined that
Yeah, it's weird how that happens.
That's kind of the direction it was going to take. It was a lot more like entree focused, and I think it was all that had a little bit had to do with ego as well. And then that's one thing I've learned a lot is to, you still have to have that little bit of ego, but at the same time, you have to be able to accept where you're at, what you're doing, and what people want.
Yeah.
And yeah, to get a high five for making a kick-ass burger is great.
Yeah.
It's great. And then once in a while, you're having a bad day or something, you hear that old saying, oh, he's going to amount to nothing. He's just going to be flipping burgers for a living, But, I mean, it's a lot more than that at this point. But, yeah, it's amazing, I guess, just to kind of go back to the guest thing, how, like, something like that kind of determines what you're known for.
Yeah.
And you put out a good product. Like, how many other restaurants around here make a burger? I mean, there's got to be hundreds in Lehigh Valley, if not more than hundreds.
Pizza shops are doing it.
Yeah. What makes ours better? We take the time to put out quality ingredients and cook the temp and all that stuff.
Don't take the shortcuts.
Don't take the shortcuts, right?
So when did you get in the kitchen at the other spot? Because you started out bartending, you said, and like learning the front of the house.
Yeah. From there, then it's funny. I had jury duty up at Northampton County Courthouse, and I went into Porter's for lunch during jury duty, and my friend Ryan worked there, and he's like, "Hey, we're hiring bartenders." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's another cool spot to work.
Closer to home, and it was kind of like my local bar that I would go to anyway when I moved back here from Philly, and so I started working there 5 days a week as a bartender. I worked day bar 5 days a week. It was pretty awesome. I worked Tuesday through Saturday. And then about 3 months later, I was cooking 4 days a week, bartending 1 day a week, because I let it out of the bag that I could cook. And I couldn't stay out of the kitchen either.
Yeah. It's hard.
And then I ended up being the brunch chef, because I had done that at the cafe. And then I worked there for about a year and a half, and I went up to my wife, or she was my fiance at the time. We went up to Vintage up at Morgan Hill, just looking for wedding venues. And at the same time, they were hiring. I filled out an application, and ended up getting hired there. We ended up booking our wedding there too. Ended up getting hired there.
Now, what was that food like compared to Porter's?
Some of it was similar, because it's still a golf club, so you still had we still did things like club sandwiches and burgers and chicken fingers and stuff. But then like the dinner menu was a lot more elevated. A lot of steaks and seafood specials and just really nice. I mean, he's a talented chef, so it was really nice appetizers and salads and desserts and so I worked there for about 3 years, and then actually Porter's hired me back as executive chef.
Did they contact you?
I was still, the thing was, I was still going there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even though I didn't work there, I was still going there after work here and there.
And then after a beer, it'd be great.
Yeah. So
what do you need to come back?
So the owners invited me back. So I went down there as executive chef. Worked there for about 2 years. And then Mike hired me back up at Vintage as chef de cuisine. So that was about a 6-year span where I went from Porter's to Vintage to Porter's to Vintage.
At that time, where would you say your skill set is? Because I mean, you're like really running the gauntlet of just cooking full time at this point. Yeah, so it's like, and you're learning different stuff from different chefs and different menus.
Really, like after leaving Porter's the second time, that's really where I felt my like real confidence in the kitchen. Not just making bar food.
Yeah.
And that's where I was creating specials. I was in charge of desserts. So
that's fun.
I was doing pastries and all that stuff. And
how'd it feel to get to that point between everything you were doing from the Comet all the way up to, I mean, because it's like it's breezed over, but there's a shitload of hard work and hours in between all that.
Absolutely.
So to get to, I know the little bit of feeling it is from being able to do this for the last year and a half to 2 years and coming, and everyone's always like, hard work pays off, but it's like, it's few and far between when you actually acknowledge the hard work, which I think comes from working past your potential, and then you become what you were setting out to be. So I mean, you've had to have a moment where you were like, man, this was a lot to get here, but then to be able to like create the menu and be able to start doing that, it must have been a freeing experience to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was asked to come back to Vintage. I came up, had a meeting with Mike, and I remember leaving the building, walking through the parking lot, talking to Sarah, my wife, and I was in tears on the phone because that's where I felt that I actually got to where I needed to be. I felt like I was a success, and that I was, actually a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And I ended up actually cooking my wedding. I ended not cooking it, but prepping it.
Yeah.
And like to this day, and there's people that come up to me, they're like, "Man, that was the best wedding food I ever had." And our weddings there were amazing.
Yeah.
Mike bought me a $1,000 sushi display. That was my wedding gift, and
that's so crazy.
I don't know. I probably ate so much, I probably should have thrown up from it, but it's looking back on those things that makes it all worth it. And then he had originally planned on having me run Third and Ferry, but they got into like a lot of construction hangups and ended up taking a couple years longer than expected.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I went and talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
And he was such a delight to meet. It was not who I thought I was meeting at all. And we just hung at the bar, and then that's when he was kind of going over other people he worked with and whatnot. And I didn't know the two of you worked together. I'm excited to pick through the Third and Ferry story, because he does a lot of impressive stuff over there.
Yeah, he does.
And then when I pictured the two of you working together, I was like, man, that must have been a blast to have.
We had some,
just that rhythm.
Some wild times. I remember New Year's Eve was always a blast because we did a buffet, and then we did dinner, and then we did a buffet, and then we did a late night buffet. And between the buffet and the late night buffet, we'd always get a picture of like some old school cocktail.
Yeah.
So I remember the one year, if you talk to him, just go Stingers.
Yeah.
And he will crack up. So we got totally messed up on Stingers one night.
What are Stingers?
God, what is it? Brandy. I want to say brandy, cream de menthe, and lemon.
It sounds like a headache the next day.
Oh my God.
You guys must have been so hungover.
But we had so much fun. But him and I would do. We had family style Thanksgiving. It was reservation only, and we'd do 300-400 people, and we'd make enough that they had leftovers to take home. Him and I would do it, the two of us. We would just somehow we'd go in 8 a.m. Before you knew it, it was 10 o'clock at night. We were cleaned up. We cooked a turkey in 45 minutes once.
That's what I'm saying. It must have been awesome.
Like totally butterflied it and threw it in the oven, pan of water underneath it, cranked it up, and Yeah, that
must have been really cool to be able to, like, what you were saying before, like, where you're having the conversation with your wife and you're getting emotional, where, like, now you're able to help out, and that, when you're working with somebody like that and you're getting stuff done, like, there isn't really a better feeling than when you're kind of, like, bouncing off each other. Let's do this, let's do that, and you have the know-how and the knowledge to just get it done and get it done correctly, and then just, like, work with somebody like that. Like, those are the kind of the things that you don't really ever forget. It's like why, like, my buddy Billy, we worked at a whiskey house, and I had just moved to Virginia, and he, we had a chef underneath us, and then, the pill problems, and then he's out, and now it's Billy and me, and we're just like, we have no help, and it's just like these crazy stories, and, people are ordering, just the owner, Mac, like, used to just kind of let things go, where if somebody came in at 2 a.m. and they wanted funnel cake, and we're cleaning up, but it had to be done. So, like, we still text each other, like, dude, you remember when we did this? Remember that? Remember when that person fell out and then me and you were in charge? And you don't forget stuff like that. It's like trying life moments that no one else sees. And it's like this little bubble of, like, what seems to be the most ridiculous mountain to climb at the time, and
Right.
you're just cooking in a restaurant.
Yeah,
no one sees
like
the
with the
accomplishment.
turkey. Like
Yeah.
you're looking ahead into the night. We're like, oh my gosh, we're not gonna have enough.
Yeah.
We're not gonna have. But it's like, I've always been a believer that in the kitchen you will always get it done.
Yeah.
You will always get it done. You'll make it happen somehow. May not be the prettiest way to do things.
Yeah.
You know, I've even done stuff at Two Rivers. We're like, we're out of this, we're out of that. Okay, well, I'm going to go do this, this, and this. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Let me know when that food's about to come up. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And we make it happen. You got to kind of think outside the box.
Yeah, and that's when like
And you got to have that drive too.
yeah, like that's what I was gonna say is like that's when like you start realizing is that's what all the hard work was for, is to get through situations that you
Right.
can't get through. So it's like, you know, and it's like I try and tell anyone who asks for advice on doing anything, and it's like, well, it's the trial and error. The trial and error when somebody's like, we don't have this, and this. Cool, I'm gonna do this, that. Put this out, put that fire out, come back here, and then, you know, make it all work. And like it's a pirate ship. Hey, there's waves coming. All right, adjust the sails, do all this. Like it's very similar to just getting it done. And I think that's like what is when you hit different levels with anything and you can accomplish things like that and you just get stuff done. That's kind of like what you get not addicted to, but then that's kind of like where cool, let's just move.
That's
move,
what keeps you going.
Move. Yeah.
It gives you that push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you didn't take the job over at Third and Ferry, and then were you back full time at Porter's?
I went and I actually opened up Tapas on Main in Bethlehem.
Oh, all right.
I was there for about 3 weeks, and me and the owner bumped heads, and that was actually the first time in our career that I actually had something like that happen. We're still cool now, but it just wasn't working. And then I had my one corporate stint. I worked at Bravo at the Lehigh Valley Mall.
Yeah, yeah. That
and-
was a big deal when that opened.
Which I actually really enjoyed it. And it was a very chef-driven corporate experience. The only things we didn't make in-house were marinara sauce, Alfredo sauce, and soups.
Yeah.
Everything else was done. We breaded chicken parm every day. We breaded eggplant parm every day. Made all the dressings fresh. Like, everything was a product that I stood by, which is what I really liked about it.
How long were you there?
I was there for a little over a year, and during that time, Troy Reynard and the other owners of Two Rivers had approached me about setting up the kitchen in Two Rivers and kind of like consulting with them.
Yeah. And was that like an angle or a connection that came from Porter's? Or?
It came from Porter's,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
At the time, he was like the number one highest mug holder at Porter's. They have
Yeah,
their mug
yeah,
club.
yeah,
and
yeah.
I think he still has. He has 38 mugs. He's actually been doubled by this point. You know, this guy, I think he was on disability for a year. And made that his hobby.
Yeah.
But Troy always came in and got my specials when I cooked at Porter's. And I was his first thought, and he'll tell the story the same way. You know, he had one chef in mind when they opened Two Rivers, and it was me. And they never thought about anyone else. I don't know if he just never ate anywhere else.
Well, sometimes when you're creating an idea and whatnot behind it, and you had like that's the thing about food though is like that was left that impression on him to be like, oh, you know who would be perfect, and like that's what's cool about food is you can make it completely uniquely yours. You can put energy into it. You can make the things change, and there's a lot of freedom in it. And it's, you know, going back to art, it's like, you know, when I got obsessed with buying art for a while, and because of the new space I'm going to get to again, but I had to stop myself. But like when you start getting obsessed and going down rabbit holes of like the way people create and design, it's really leaves an impression. So that's cool that, you know, he came in for that. And when he's thinking about this whole thing, no, him. Like,
and I knew the whole time, like, you know, I'm still waiting for him like to pop the question.
Yeah.
And he didn't even get the question all the way out. And I was like,
let's
of
go.
course. Why do you think I've had 10 meetings with you guys at this point? I want you to do well, but I know there's an end game here. You know, so I was just hired as chef there, and then we went through two front of the house general managers, and neither of them worked out. So finally, I was like, "Can I just do both?"
Yeah,
you know,
which you already had the experience
I've been
from.
in this 2 years. Let me just do both. So you know, I'm GM and chef there, so I kind of do the ins and outs of the front of the house and the back of the house. And
what was the beginning like when you guys started there? Because I know there was like the construction going on and setting up, and it had to have been crazy for you to kind of, I mean, was this your first time with seeing a brewery being built and the hang-ups was there a kitchen there already? Did you get to kind of build your own kitchen? Like, I know you probably had a lot of creative freedom, but what was it like to kind of be inside the building of something? Because at this point you had just worked places and you really weren't a part of something like this.
That being built, yeah. I mean that experience is something I never had before. It was weird that I started in July and we thought we were going to open in August. But then we didn't ended up opening until December 23rd. So I spent most of that summer actually doing construction on the building.
Yeah.
Working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, which I hadn't done since I started working. You know, that was...
How much of that had to be... Because there's a lot of really cool stuff, and like I've been on the other floors, so like... How was the kitchen area at the time? Was that a complete build out? Was there a kitchen in there before? What was it originally?
There was already a kitchen in there. It was the Mount Vernon Ale House.
Okay.
A few years prior. He did like a lot of pasta dishes and stuff like that. But basically there was one piece of equipment which we're still using.
Which piece is it?
It's the stove unit with the flat top.
Yeah,
and the salamander.
Yeah.
That was left there.
Yeah.
So that thing is probably 20 years old at this point. Oven doesn't work, but we store rondos in there.
Yeah.
But I mean that was the one piece of equipment, and it was filthy. And I spent a whole day. You know, I had time.
Yeah.
You know, I really didn't have much to do. I spent a whole day cleaning that thing, cleaning it up till it was sparkling clean, and got it working. And
there's something about cleaning kitchen equipment that's like satisfying.
Yeah. and then sometimes it's like, oh wait, the grease was holding that on.
Yep.
Shit. I need what part now?
Yeah, I remember when we were cleaning out Cherry Hill and cleaning that up. It was super greasy, and there was like this big grease ball, and I thought it was like something that was over top of like a light switch, and then like when I got to like cleaning it out, because I'd worked for cleaning companies, and even with the stuff now, it's like, cool, like I just want to get stuff done. Like I've done these jobs, like let me go in there and just start working. And I remember I was starting to like pick it off, and then it just fell, and here it was just like a softball of grease that was like coming off of
like
one
a hornet's nest.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, there's probably like an outlet or something behind this, because it was like, you know, it was huge. And then I was like, nope, this is just a grease ball nobody cared about, and then was maybe mesmerized by the fact that it was growing.
Experiment.
Yeah. It's weird what you find in kitchens.
Yeah. So, I mean, we opened December with our food and Pennsylvania beer, basically. You know, as local as we could do as far as beer. And then it wasn't until so that would have been 2015 that we brewed our own beer. We actually have our brewniversary coming up, and we're having we usually do an event for that. We're doing like a barbecue buffet, and we brew a special beer in a commemorative glass, and sort of thing. You could sign up, get tickets. So that's in June. That's on June 12th. So that'll be our 7th brewniversary.
That's crazy.
Which is pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, our beer, we've won gold medal at the World Beer Cup. We've won awards at the American Beer Fest and Farmers, the Pennsylvania Farm Show. You know, so not only do we have good food, we've always been known for our beer too, which is
it's a very unique place.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a perfect part of Easton. Even the location, and then you know, it's always just a thing when I tell anyone or I go into Easton, it's like, oh well, it's like, all right, well, where do you want to go? And it's always like the first thing out of everyone's mouth, Two Rivers, and then it's just like, all right, well, and even like starting there and then going downtown, like sure. It's always been like a unique, very cool. Hearing the story, I'm understanding kind of where a lot of things fall into place. When you guys like sat down and had that meeting, and like they waited and then finally asked you out. So like, what was the original idea for the food before it kind of turned into? Because at one point it was like a craze for that burger. Yeah. What was the idea originally to come in there to pair? Just kind of like classic foods with beers, or was it a little bit more dinners?
Was more, actually, my Sarah and I, we went down to Philly for like 4 days prior to opening, and basically just did some bar hopping, restaurant hopping, and just checked out, like, even at, you know, there was a place called the Farmer's Cabinet, which I know they got into some legal trouble and closed down. But that was like the first place we went, and it was like this dark place, and the beers were all made by this kind of rogue brewer, this guy named McKellar. I don't know if he's still even making beer, but it was like so interesting and so cool, and the food was interesting. First time I ever had like duck prosciutto, which like blew my mind. I love making it. And then, talking to servers and bartenders there, figured out other places to go. And, that's where first time I had duck fat fries, and of course, we're pretty well known for those.
Yeah.
And,
that was like the first thing when I went back and just, we met up to talk about doing this. And it's been a while since I had the burgers, and then I forgot all of what goes into the fries, and then I like had one fry, and I was like it immediately takes you back to the first time you had it, and I was like, oh man. And my friend, because I have two friends in a group text, and I like send them pictures. They're like, you son of a bitch. And then I was like, the classics, man. I was like,
Yeah.
it's hard to walk away from some of your things on the menu.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about actually being in the kitchen day in, day out is like, you take those things for granted.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, duck fat fries. Like you forget about even the fact that we have hand cut fries.
Yeah.
Most places don't do that either.
No.
It's those little things that we all kind of take for granted. We kind of get bored from time to time about the menu, but like the people that come in there's people that have only ever had the peanut butter burger and duck fat fries.
Yeah. I stuck on it for a while.
Because that's all they get.
Yeah.
Same thing with the short rib sandwich.
Yep.
We have people that just get the quesadillas, so, or even our bacon chop salad, which it's funny. The dressing that I use for that is the coleslaw dressing that we made at Vintage.
Yeah.
Which is the dressing for the chop salad. And it's so funny because Mike and his wife, when we first opened, would come in, Rebecca, and I just love this chop salad. I don't think I ever told them that, that's your coleslaw dressing.
That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, going back, things you learn from different places. And and now we have a tap room down in Quakertown.
Yeah. So like, you guys kind of get through the headaches of opening, and then you open, and then your menu and the burger and everything kind of falls into place. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like there was a time where it was just like crazy to go over there.
It was.
Like for a while, I remember my friends who are into beer were like, dude, they're opening one in Easton, because this is before it's common now to have. Like if Nazareth got one, then I was like, okay, cool. Like everyone had a chance to get a brewery if we're getting one. So like towards like at a point, I remember, the phone call and being like, dude, they're opening up this brewery in Easton. And then like when it all hit things, I remember like we couldn't even go over there because it was like, no, let's wait. Or what day is it slow? Or like, let's let it calm down. And then it didn't seem to calm down.
No. And there's still days where you look outside the kitchen and your eyes get big. And you're like, we'll have families that like come up with 5 strollers from Crayola Factory with how many? 15. And I think people they hear the word brewery and they think big.
Yeah, open, like
big open thing.
Picnic
and like,
tables.
Kind of the way the building is designed, it's only vertical.
Yeah.
There's no, we have our outside dining, that's going to start again in May. But besides that, we have 4 tables outside. And, for the most part, we just use our downstairs dining area. And then we have a party up in our balcony room. There's only so many seats.
Yeah.
And then people are like, what do you mean you need reservations?
Did you guys start out with the second floor right away, or did you have to grow into that?
Not right away.
Yeah.
It was still under construction. We just wanted to get open.
Yeah. That because you guys were behind schedule at that point.
Behind schedule, and especially with the brewery too. That was way behind schedule.
So then you guys got it set up where you got the dining area now. Now there's the second floor, and then there's the party room again, and then that's all you have built out. And then whose idea was it to go to Quakertown? Was that like a group decision? We're like, hey, we can grow this further out than we have it?
Well, with the brewing license that we have, we're allowed 2 storage facilities.
Yeah.
Which basically means somewhere else you can pour beer.
Yeah.
And I know the owners had toyed around with ideas about, just taking advantage of that. Like, why not just have a tap room, sell more beer, make more beer, sell more beer. And there was a place in Bethlehem on Broad, I guess that would be North Broad, that fell through. And then this guy, Ed Scholl, who was part of the town council in Quakertown, just showed up in Easton one day and was like, hey, we want you to take a look at what we're doing here in Quakertown. He's the one that kind of swayed us to, give it a thought, give it a chance. And then the thought was, well, it's halfway between Easton and Philly. We can get our name out there to the Philly people. It's far enough away from our Easton location that it's not a competition.
No.
And there's still people that I see at both locations.
Yeah, well, that was the other thing is I went down there, used to go like the antique shops and would like go down to the flea market style stuff. So there's like that whole area there where like, because I think on the one corner it's like two really cool antique shops like across from each other.
Right.
And then I was just like, oh, this is cool. And then like that little or the thing that they built where you guys are in, that ended up being a home for all these people that are down there already shopping and doing stuff. And then I was just like, oh, well, this is cool that you can come here, get a beer, get food, and then there's other stuff inside the market. And then it was an add-on to the people that were spending money in that area.
Right. And that place has that huge outside space too.
Yeah, that place is really cool.
It's really, really cool. And that's something that I think a lot of the other markets in the area don't have. I mean, there's
so much space there.
Almost 10,000 square feet outside with fire pits and...
There's parking. I think there's like a train yard by it, which even gives a cooler vibe to the place.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we were in this outlining building called, it used to be a hobby shop, so we just called it the hobby shop. But while they were working on the trolley barn, and then not last November, the November prior, we opened up inside the trolley barn, and it's such a cool space. I mean, the bar itself, I don't know if you've been in there. It's this cool, like, live edge.
Yeah, well, because
live edge bar. And
I think the last time I was down there, it was just kind of like vacant on the corner there, if it's the same space I'm thinking. Like, it looked like there was doing construction or something during the time, or I'm trying to think.
I don't know. But now our food's down there.
Yeah. So well, that's what I was going to ask then, because I think when we talked before, I asked if you were because originally you were just doing beer down there, correct? And then now you have, like...
I couldn't find I couldn't find the staff all at one time.
Yeah, now you're having to staff two places.
Yeah, so
the ideas are always awesome.
I could find one person and train that one person, but then I would never be able to find someone else.
Yeah.
So then that one person that would, all right, see you. I'm gonna go find a job. So then I'd hire someone else, and then finally we found this perfect storm where we got 4 people at one time.
Hell yeah.
And within a week we were training them. And
what's the menu over there? Is it different?
It's basically our sandwich menu.
Yeah. Sandwich
menu, small kids menu, Belgian fries, duck fat fries, and onion rings. But the greatest thing about it is, I hear people from both places saying, hey, that food is just as good there as it is here. Yeah. And vice versa. So that's cool. And that's what you want. Yeah, because you don't want people being like, oh, well, the original's much better. Mm-hmm. That's where you go for the experience. This is good, but if you had both, that's where you want to go. And it's counter service there, so it's a different experience as well. Yeah. And it's more a la carte. So if you just wanted your burger without a side, you could just do that. And it's pretty neat. I mean, yeah, well, that's got to be freeing for you, too, to be like, because you've already kind of been through menus and stuff and then saw what works at Two Rivers, but now you got to simplify it. And you're like, cool, we can take all this out. Let's just do this. This is what we're only going to serve. And then here it is. Right. And then that's all we have to do. Yeah. That's probably what you would want to do off the other place. Two fryers, a flat top. And, and a big deli prep unit. Yeah. And then you have the recipes and everything for, the success of the menu and everything. So it's like then you move it down there with the confidence of it, and then you just got it simplified. So you don't have to have, you can train 4 people to be like, cool, this is all you do this really well. Well, even some of the prep I'm taking down there. Yeah. Some of the stuff. So now are you in between both places? I'm there like once or twice a month. And still do in front of the house? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It keeps it interesting. No, I could. Well, I mean,
you kind of just like be like, yeah, I take over this, but you obviously like, anyone who's worked in a kitchen or even just where I meet people on here, a lot of the times it's everybody likes a full plate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to clean the office one day.
Yeah.
But
but doing all this stuff's probably better than actually cleaning.
There's always something. Always a fire to put out. Always something.
But it makes it interesting. I like having like, and I like came to terms once where like, I was like, this is just how you like living, and you like having a lot to do, and you like to accomplish tasks, and like the older you get, the more you kind of look at like what you're doing. Where when I was younger, it was just like, you know, people be like, I can't believe you're doing all this stuff, or you're crazy, and then now it's like developing into things, and it's just like there isn't a time I don't want my plate full. Like I had to take stuff off my plate. Like, okay, well, I got to get rid of my apparel sales business because that's so there's 4 pieces of this pie, and then I need to start running other things. All right, cool. I need to take this out.
Right.
So now it's like I just keep a full plate, and then I choose what to put on there. But they're things that I know that I'm good at. So it's like, all right, cool. Like when we go up there, it's like my time's going to be split in half, or it's going to be, I get up in the morning, we do the bagels, do the coffees, do our food, and then when the day's over, I go over and do this. But like, I don't want to get out up there at 3:00 in the afternoon and be like, cool, I guess tomorrow.
Go take a nap.
Yeah. I like to fill that because I'm already trying to picture how it's going to be, where it's like, all right, well, because I told you like what's going to be fun is like, we could have made a special that you're doing, the burger special, and then we could have filmed it, and then you would have gotten footage out of that, but it would have been something. But then, I'm also like, I get to cook with you and like make a thing, so it's like, I'm like, I want to do that. Right. So it's like, like you enjoy keeping things moving correctly and fixing the front of the house so they don't have to hire someone. Hey, I could just make this easier for us, and then let's keep getting to our goal. And like, there's something about like admitting to yourself that you just like to like move, like what you said before. It goes back to like you're moving.
Yeah,
you're moving.
I'm not very.
I like to move.
At relaxing, and when I do, I actually fall asleep.
Yeah,
and it's like.
Yeah.
God, I've been trying to watch Ozark, and I just
I'll
make it like halfway through an episode and fall asleep, and then next day it's like repeat over and over again.
How far along on it are you?
I just finished episode 4.
First season?
4th.
Oh yeah. So they're I think this week maybe they're dropping the part 2 of the finale of it. Yeah. Fantastic show.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
Like it's like such anxiety for
me. Yeah. Like sometimes I didn't want to watch it because I was like, oh, I'll get it. I because I'll get done doing everything, and sometimes I'll be stressed out, and like I either just want to get into a video game and wedge out, but like sometimes I can't get into stress.
Right. I don't want to get stressed out on a show.
And that show's really stressful.
It really is.
Yeah.
Really
like my mom will call me because I got her onto it. Like we watch shows and we'll go back and forth, and it's just fun. At first I was like, would make fun of her, and then I'm like, whatever. I'm like, let's just start trading TV shows. So sometimes she turns me on to like Hallmark stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out on this. But sometimes I'll get her to like watch edgier stuff, and I'm like, check out Ozark, and then she's calling me, you didn't tell me about this. And but she's the same way. She's like, she'll pause it and call me and be like, I just had to call you to calm down, but they're about to do this.
They're about
and like,
to do something.
But it's cool when something moves you like that. Yeah. But what else do you do when you're not doing all that stuff? Do you have any downtime, like hiking or anything?
Yeah, me and my family and I, we like to hike a lot. We haven't done much this year. We just moved into a new home in July, so my honey-do list keeps getting bigger and shorter and bigger and shorter all at the same time. And same thing, my weekends, like we're just talking about, like having a lot on your plate. In my head, I'm like, I wish I just had time to relax. But I'd feel useless.
Yep.
I'd feel useless. Just what am I going to do? Just sit in the chair on the Saturday afternoon and watch golf?
Yeah, like my week will be totally insane, and then Saturdays come, and then there's fights. Like there's even one coming up this weekend. So like once we started watching the fights, and there was a core group of us who came back to watch every week. It's funny because that's how I started getting back in the food again, is we started would make food for the event. We'd pick a fighter from the main event. We'd see what the country they're from, and then we'd make dishes around where they're from.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
If it was like somebody down south, we were doing that. Yeah. And then when you get the guys overseas, we would just probably end up buying some of the stuff. But like, that's how I started kind of cooking again, because I fell out with it. And I was mad at somebody else for how they treated me, and I wouldn't let it go. And that was a big lesson learned getting older. Like, I really appreciate being in my 40s. But, like, when I let that go, I didn't realize how much I loved making food and seeing people eat food and, like, changing people's moods from food. So, like, we do that every Saturday. So, like, to pile everything on top of what I do in a week and do the shows and the editing and do all this stuff and posting and trying to just keep everything going, then I'm like, you know what I'm going to do on Saturday is host. I'll host a party every Saturday here. And then it's just like, you know, sometimes it's overwhelming and you got to clean up a lot, but it's like,
Yeah.
I go from like, because everyone's like, how are you going to do both? And I'm like, I'm already doing that. Like, I go from like working all week, then I'm cooking with my friends, and then, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
my plate's already full. I'm just going to take this stuff away because now I'll have an income from here and I can move the pieces around. But like, Sundays is the only day that I'll like, because especially with the cooking, I always like not working on a Sunday because it closed out the week. And I feel like if you don't close out the week on a day, that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So Sundays, I'll just kind of leave that where I'll watch Netflix, and then the weather's breaking. So now I'm going to be out hiking and
Doing stuff.
mountain biking. And it's
Yeah,
just like, I don't relax ever.
That's what me. Like,
Maybe when I get drunk, but
I have like a half acre of yard to mow now.
yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
taking care of all that. And I usually try to split, like, I'm off Sunday, Monday. I like to take my Sunday,
Yeah.
maybe do a little something, and then the rest of the time just do stuff with, you know, the wife and the kids. And whether it's, going hiking or just going out, being with like my parents or her parents and their family. And then Monday is usually like a kind of get shit done.
Yeah.
Done kind of day, especially when the kids are in school. It's like,
Yeah.
what else am I going to do?
What do you guys got coming down the pipe for Two Rivers? Between both of them and whatnot, like, where do you kind of see things going with the menu or the career? You guys just kind of staying on track? Like, what do you have coming down this year? I mean, especially with coming back from the pandemic and things. You know, you guys do the Easton Out Loud. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that Easton does. So, like, are you kind of looking to stay on track with just doing that? You guys going to be a part of anything new? Like,
I think
where are you going?
We're doing the outside dining again. We're gonna have 6 more tables out front.
Do you get to close off like how you did during the pandemic? Are they allowing you guys to do that all the time now?
Yeah, so it's gonna go from May to Halloween.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and I say every time somebody's from Easton, is I feel like Easton just does everything correctly. And like, who did I have on? Somebody recently, I was talking to them about food and the outside dining, and they were like, yeah, they're keeping it that way. And I'm like, dude, that was so awesome to just park and then come into Easton, and then you can walk around.
You can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. They've made it such a walkable town.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's really come a long way. We were out and about for St. Patty's Day. We were out and about, and even then I was just like, man, like, this is just it's easy to move around, it's easy to get around, there's so many different places to go to. It's just like literally like one of the best places to go. I've had people come in. It's funny, I keep trying to get my buddy to move back home from Cali, and he won't because of the weather, but they came in from Cali and were like in the public market, and we were taking them around Easton, and they were like, we would move here 100%. Like, I just feel like it was done well. But
right.
The Easton Out Loud and the outside dining and being able to have that outside, that's huge for you guys.
Yeah. So this month we're not really doing anything. But next month, May, it's always the last or the fourth Friday of the month. We're doing our adult tricycle race.
Yes, I forgot
that we do every year.
I always see Nat doing the different things.
Yeah,
over there.
so we always put a course out in the street, and
Yeah.
we have heats and have some food out front. That's so fun. Those are hard. It's harder than you think. Drifting around the corners and not trying to slide out too much.
Do you have a champion over there for a specific time?
The course changes. So,
Yeah.
So it's not really about the time. It's about you running heats.
Yeah. Very serious
It's about
over there.
who you beat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we're doing in June. Well, we're doing our brewniversary on the 12th.
We guys have outside open for that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be open for the tricycle race too. We always do our 80s dance party in the street. That's a lot of fun.
I never knew about
that's
that.
That's with DJ Brad. Well, we haven't done it the last couple of years.
Yeah. That's
COVID.
true.
DJ Brad Scott and that's one of the best Easton Outlaws that we have. And then in the fall, we'll do like our our barrel aged beer and cigar nights with fire pits.
See, I didn't know you did that either.
Out in the streets, yeah. So we just we'll take out fire pits and we'll have like 4 of them out. People can bring chairs.
That's a cool street. It's a very the whole vibe of the building and that like whole corner section there. Like to be able to set up outside really adds to like it adds like a special touch to like even the mood and the menu and everything like really comes together over there.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I like about it too is it kind of it's funny. Our sales in Easton are about 65% food, 35% alcohol. Quakertown at the tap room, it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So like in Easton, we established ourselves as a place to go for great food that had beer. Where in Quakertown, it started with the beer.
And now it's the food.
Now it's the food. So it's nice when we have those events and stuff outside that it does have more of a feeling of a brewery.
Yeah.
And those brewery events with games and all that. And I think a lot of people forget the fact that it actually is a brewery. Even though it's in the name.
Yeah.
But that's definitely... I mean, we'll sell...
It's not a bad problem to have because you're still moving both.
Like some weeks we'll sell as much of one style in Quakertown as we'll sell in like all of our beer in Easton. But we'll sell...
But what a good move it shows for you guys to do that because now you can be pumping the beer out, moving it down there, and then just still be getting your alcohol sales from down there. And then if you kind of look at it, it's hitting like 100% now between the two of them.
It is. It's nice how it kind of evens everything out.
Yeah, that must have felt cool when you guys started looking at numbers and seeing things and be like, it worked.
It worked, yeah.
It worked.
It hurt us a little bit, like, during lockdown in 2020. Our sales per week at the tap room were like dismal, beyond dismal. But we stayed open.
Yeah,
we stayed open.
Everybody always forgets how weird it was with selling alcohol. Because at one point, I think people were just like, "All right, cool, you can get to-go cups of beer."
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. Like there was one point where like, "Hey, what is everyone doing?" Like I remember
I would
where
find slushy cups on the street in Easton.
Yeah.
And like
how what is that? 2 years ago? It feels like it was just it went like that. So bizarre to go through that.
Yeah.
And it had to have been crazy from, I had my own, everyone who owned a business had their own problems. With the food industry, I felt like that just got really stuck hard on that one. But it was cool. I loved seeing like the people, posting and tagging you guys. And, people were proud to keep supporting you guys. And I feel like you guys have a very genuine, local, awesome following.
We do. We still have a lot of the same people that ordered takeout during then.
Yeah.
That still order now. Pre-pandemic, our takeout sales per week were maybe like $500, and now they're still well over $2,000 a week.
Yeah, it was weird because it feels like it broke a seal for everyone that like,
it did.
Yeah, you can order takeout from a bar, restaurant.
Well, like online ordering was something that we were like, oh hell no, we are never doing that.
Yeah, well, it's hard with that because they take there's that, but then they also like take their fees, and sometimes like those companies will like not have great relationships with the owners, and like there's a lot of pitfalls.
Well, we don't do the Grubhub or any of that stuff.
Oh,
we
awesome.
Just do our own.
Yeah.
When we did deliver, we self-delivered.
Yeah.
So we do
good on you guys for doing that.
Our own online ordering, and the only thing that sucked about delivering was we couldn't take, people would order from Phillipsburg, and we couldn't take beer. But
yeah. Then there's always that.
There's those drawbacks, but it's still wild. Like we'll have a Saturday night. It'll be 7:00. We're getting our big pop. We haven't had a to-go order in an hour. All of a sudden, you'll get two to-go orders that are like that equal like 16 people.
Yeah,
right in the middle.
Yep,
of,
those
of
fun
your
calls.
Dinner rush. And you
the
just
reasons
don't
why
know.
you didn't take delivery before.
Right. The reason why we didn't do it before.
Yeah.
But we've gotten used to it, and
Yeah, and then you can't take it away because it's like they're the people who helped you float.
Right.
So then it's like, well, you can't take the service away.
Yeah.
Because, now things are kind of back to normal. But how long have you guys been there? So how long have you been there working at Two Rivers?
I've been there since July of 2012. Wait, what year is it? 2012. So I'll be there for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the story about you jumping around, what's it feel like for you to kind of stay in one spot?
It's pretty wild. I remember like being so excited telling the owners like, I've been here 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, when we first opened, I had one kid that was a year and a half years old, 2 years, 2 years old, and now I have two, and one's going on 9, one's.
It's got to be crazy for you
one's
because
11,
it's got to just feel like, you know, I know how it is for me when I keep my plate full like that. Time just kind of disappears, and you're just kind of like, and then you have things that like mark the day. Like I was like, okay, interview. All right, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Jeremy's coming in Wednesday. Yeah. So it's got to be crazy for you to like be hiking or doing something, and you have 2 kids, and you've been at this place building this and establishing it, and you guys have did a fantastic job since the beginning. It's got to be wild to look back at it, especially for you to stay there 10 years, where your normal pattern is to kind of bounce around.
Well, just the progression of the place itself.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, where sales when we were first opened, like a good night was about half of what we're doing now.
Yeah, what was it like when you guys first opened? Was it just a crazy buzz or a rush or?
It's crazy buzz. It was a rush. I mean, we're still using, you know, old school reservation lists. Now we use Open Table.
Yeah.
Which I'm so happy we switched to that years ago. That kind of made everything easier for us. Because you get bombarded with people, and the tough thing about that place is we don't have like a waiting area.
Yeah.
And the flow of traffic from the kitchen to the dining room is right where people stand.
Yep.
So not only are these people just staring at the host stand, these people are all in the way. So now to have it all, you know, through Open Table, through a computer system, and be able to say, hey, we'll text you in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When your table's ready, and something that simple, where people go outside, they'll go for a walk or whatever, and come back. You know, you live and learn throughout things, and you know, I had to get my chops on being a front of the house manager, because I can run a kitchen, and I've bartended and I've served, but I've never actually had to deal with like reservations and pars on liquor and stuff like that, and and then putting it all into play, and you know, training people and hoping they stay.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable what the entire group has done, but then to hear your story and then see where these little facets of things that you do are things that you take in from moments in time in your life that you enjoyed, and you kind of built this menu and then stepped up to even do 2 tasks and then to open it. And you know, I know there's more people there that other than this than you, but you guys really hit it out of the park. And then for them to bring you in, and then for you to be thought of to be the guy who needs to be placed here, and then, you know, that was probably a moment that you'll never forget, to be the missing piece, and then for you to actually be the piece that works. It's got to be pretty cool for you to look back on all this and just be like, man, like I've accomplished so much, from the days of not knowing what to do all the way up to all this kitchen work. And it's not easy. I mean, there's so many people that drop like flies where that work gets too tough or it's not stable, and then you go in and out and the hours are crazy. But to see it pay off from my end, looking at you from the moment I met you to doing this interview, but for you to be the person that kind of is a large part of that, it's got to feel like you've marked yourself a career out of just kind of what you wanted to do with your life.
Yeah. I mean, if I looked back 20 years, if this is where I thought I'd be, it probably wouldn't be. At that point, 20 years ago, I had no clue what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, I was working at a restaurant, but I was doing it because it was fun.
Yeah.
And then to actually get serious about it, and make it my life's work, you know, and I'm still young, you know, I'm 44, so there's a lot of years ahead. And I guess that's kind of one of my biggest personal things that I need to figure out is, what is next?
Yeah.
You know, like you do so much. What's next? Is it venturing out and owning my own place, or is it just kind of keeping to the grindstone and just continue to make Two Rivers better and better and better? You know, do we open a 3rd location? You know, what's next? But yeah, I mean the gratification, and it's wild, because it wasn't until I started my job at Two Rivers that I ever had a picture taken of me with food. And then something about the town of Easton that just celebrates its businesses, and they celebrate the people that run them and the faces of them, and especially restaurants. So all of a sudden I'm just go from this guy that cooks food to this guy that's like a face of something, and I have to carry myself a certain way in public. Not that I have to like, not this is like, you know, some sort of hyper religious area or something like that, but like, you know, you every time I go out, my kids are like, Daddy, you know everyone. You know, I could be anywhere. I know someone. And you know, my kid's baseball coach. Hey, you're the chef from WFMZ. Yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so it's really interesting going from someone that just wants to make food to someone that you know, half the people out there think I own the place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is fine. And it's kind of like the same thing where like I'll go out in the restaurant on my days that I'm not in chef clothes and people say, oh, compliments to the chef. And I'll say, okay, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know. I'm usually pretty humble when it comes to things like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'll go tell the kitchen, hey, great job. I won't say, it was me, I did it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I feel like when people act that way, that's when things don't work out.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, like people are like, man, you took this stuff for so far and you're doing all this stuff and how's this all work? And I'm like, it's not about me. None of this is about me.
Yeah.
I hate being the face of stuff. This is just kind of the way it came out. And it's
Right.
just like, these are conversations that I wanted to have with people just because I'm interested. I would have had this conversation with you if we would have worked together for 8 hours. You
Right.
know what I mean? It wouldn't have been as elaborately thought out, or, you know, at this point I know how to interview people, but like these are the conversations I have when I'm in a kitchen. That's how, you know what I mean? Like I'll be working with Alessandro. Well, where did you come from? Well, I'm from Sicily. Oh, well, what was it like in Sicily? And then, you know, it's you're passing time to live in a story and while you're washing potatoes. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so, you know, I feel like successful people are people that make impressions on others and do the things that you're doing. It's happening because you're not making it about Jeremy, and it's not about Jeremy's burger. You're working with a group of people and you're being very selfless towards your acts, and I think that shows to people. And then when you have an area like Easton, they do celebrate people like that. Everybody I bring in here, it's different than the people from Bethlehem or Allentown or anywhere out of this area. Like Easton really is a special place that like 100% gives a shit about the people that are there and that are running businesses in town.
Right.
It's weird. Not weird, but it's like, it's such an old-fashioned thing.
It's unexpected.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And there's a reason why like the Easton Main Street program has been number one in the state for years.
Yeah.
And there's good reason why.
Yeah.
You know, they care. They, you know, the Easton Out Loud. So that's a prime example.
Yeah, the fact that that works.
Let's get people to walk the town.
Yeah.
On a Friday night. Of course.
Yeah.
Let's get them to move around. You know, let's give them something to do.
It's cool. I always tell everybody that Easton did it correctly, and it blows my mind that people don't try and mimic it.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about politics to understand who's in charge of the things and decisions in Easton. But whoever is obviously making a lot of the right ones. Because
I think the way it's set up geographically too.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the you know, the two rivers and then the central area and
the parking garage is going up behind the public market.
Yep. There's always something happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And then there's like cool little spots like the sneaker stores back there. And then like I saw Downtown Dogs went in, and then like, you know, and then Chow going in, and there's all these like little spots that keep opening. And it's like, there's so many little gems that just keep coming up.
Little bakeries like Pine Tart's really great. Was it Cake and Corolla? Their food, their stuff's fantastic. Sweet Girls, like, it's everywhere, you know, every corner now. Even the pudding place, like Kanisha's Pudding, is fantastic.
There's a pudding place?
Oh my gosh, you have to try it. It's between 2nd Street and the Free Bridge.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, because even with the weather breaking, like my buddy just moved in to the new apartments over there, and we go. I just went to New York with him. Like since we were 16, I tell the story all the time, but we used to just drive into the city, and he took me for my first Pat's cheesesteaks, and was like, show me the ropes, and that's when I fell in love with like the grittiness of the city and feeling like I don't know if I should be here, and then like the art and the graffiti and everything, and like it's what a lot of like what I develop things into that I'm doing to be a part of that. But like he's over there now, and we were texting. I might even go over there today, but he was like, dude, he's like, we can just really start getting through a lot of stuff over here, and you can, when the weather breaks, you can walk around all day and still not hit half of it.
No,
it's like you go down towards the end, you have Separatists, you go up towards the top, there's Two Rivers, then there's even like, because my buddy's kid moved over there, and I'm like, hey, there's a retro arcade there. Like
I know. So
it's
cool.
really cool.
And then you have all the cool antique stores and all that as well,
I just had the girl on from Mind's Eye Vintage, so she's over there, and like she's from like the West Coast, and she did so much crazy stuff where like to have this unique person who like is doing all this like vintage stuff where she goes out. And then I had the guy on from Antiques and Oddities, and he lives in Easton, and there's like really so many people just doing so much cool different stuff there.
Yeah.
It's the skate shops over the Five and Dime. That story was crazy. Corey started that when he was like 16, 17, and he was too young.
When I was in high school, they were doing that,
And then he was too young, and then when he got older and was successful, what's crazy is he's like, I want to go back and like accomplish that goal because I couldn't run it correctly because I was 18.
Yeah.
Who's going to run anything correctly at 18?
It was a hangout.
Yeah, so now like for him to take that and then see it flourish and like Easton's skate community come behind him, like there's just so many unique businesses down there.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I don't know. I'll wrap up. You got stuff to do. I think it's so awesome that you're a part of it. I think you guys are like a big, like part of Easton, and I think you're one of the main reasons things are the way they are, and you guys set a standard for doing stuff over there. And I had a little bit of time to work in there, and to be able to see the way things kind of work, it's super impressive, and you guys kill it. I want to give you a chance to give your social media for the restaurant, or any way you guys want to plug the upcoming events and kind of follow along. The social media is definitely worth following. The burgers alone that they post will, because you guys are doing a burger every month or something, or is it week?
we do. It's a Firkin Tuesday. So pre-pandemic, a Firkin is a small barrel beer that you typically sits in a cradle on the bar. It's not kept refrigerated. You put like a jacket on it. That say you have like a chocolate stout, you throw some coffee beans in it. Or you have like a blonde and you throw a bunch of oranges and some vanilla beans or something to add flavor. So what we would do is every week we would do a Firkin beer, a beer that we'd pair with a burger. So obviously come 2020, we didn't want to waste anything. So we kind of turned it into a beer cocktail. So that's what we do now. So like yesterday, for instance, we have a dark cherry goza, which is kind of a slightly salinic sour beer. So we took that, we put some red wine, some simple syrup, some lemon juice, and some cracked black pepper on it, and put it with a burger that have garlic aioli, arugula, provolone.
I'm so hungry.
Provolone, pepperoni, and balsamic glaze.
Yeah.
And it it paired fantastically with it. And that's the whole thing is like, it's a Tuesday deal. It's $19. Can't beat it. Burger beer. So that's kind of like one of our biggest weekly promotions. We do have a free bacon happy hour every Wednesday. And I do not know why the bar is not more packed. It's free bacon.
Yeah.
It's free bacon and $1 off drafts. It's like you can't beat it. We have one guy that orders, he gets crowlers every week, and he leaves every week with like this bundle of bacon.
Yeah.
And he's like, cook it. I'll cook it Saturday morning. I'll cook it Sunday morning. He plans his week around it. But yeah, that Easton Out Louds. We're always good for booking up weddings and small weddings, rehearsal dinners, birthday parties with that upstairs space. Come see us down in Quakertown, especially with the weather breaking. They have a deck that's gotta be 2,000-3,000 square feet.
Yeah,
it's huge. And there's a distillery there. There's a winery. So if you're not a beer person,
it's worth going down there for the day.
It's really worth
even a Sunday,
and to take the back roads from here down like Saucon Valley Drive. It's like a beautiful drive. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got. Like, yeah, check us out on Facebook, Instagram. We're always doing new stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll tag in the comments or the information below. I'll have the website and the social media and all that, so it's easy for everybody, and then the tag will come up. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you want to get into past episodes or anything that what we're doing, it is neveragainstudio.com, and then that has everything, the merch. If you want to watch it on the website, you can. The YouTube's there. Subscribe to the YouTube. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, and then we can monetize, and especially subscribe now, because the cooking show and everything else we're doing is going to be primarily, a lot of it's going to be heavy YouTube, so you can subscribe to that, turn the updates on. Other than that, check out the food and hit me up if you ever want to go there, because I will go. I didn't know you guys were pairing that stuff up on Tuesdays like that,
Yeah.
and then now
Every frickin' Tuesday.
yeah, I will start going over there. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. You have a media tour. I'm glad that I was the first one to get you for this week, but thank you so much for coming on, man.
Hey, man, it was a lot of fun.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.